Welcome to Franchise Focus. I'm Laura Blackmore, your host, and a franchise consultant with over a decade experience in franchising. Franchising isn't one size fits all, and this podcast helps focus on what truly matters. Each week, we pull back the curtain with top industry experts, whether you're exploring your first franchise or expanding your portfolio. Let's dive in. Welcome to Franchise Focus Podcast. I'm Laura Blackmore, your host, and today I'm chatting with Mark Amery, the founder of Puddle Pool Services, and someone who's been building businesses since most of us were still figuring out high school. He started his first company at 19, scaled it, sold it, and went on to launch multiple home service brands. Puddle Pools is the latest venture, and it's not your average pool service. It's a modern tech-driven operation that franchisees can literally run from their phones. Mark built a smart, scalable brand, and I'm excited to dig into it. So Mark, welcome to the show.
Hey, Laura, thanks for having me.
Yeah, excited to have you here.
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear a little bit about, your background launching all these different brands and then how it led you to Puddles.
Yeah, for sure. So, gosh, where do I start? So I started my own, like you said, when I've always been in the home service space, worked at a donut shop and kind of did this. And so I went to work when I was young, and then I just kind of got into the field of home service and pest control, landscaping, window cleaning, all that. So I started my very first company. It was a pest control company, and I grew that. And I found really quick that it really was like the ability to scale was always through like your team and the people. So I learned from a young age, and I probably like anybody just wearing all the hats at first, and I can do this, and really putting your trust in people, I think, is hard.
Right.
Anyway, sorry, I don't know where I was going with that, but that's kind of where I got started, and I grew that, and I exited that, and I sold that one, and I started my next one was in the home service space as well, more in the window cleaning, roof cleaning, that kind of field, and grew that and scaled that and went into franchise and yada yada. So that's kind of where I've always been in the space, and I've always had we've had the same team for 13, 14 years, I think, this year. So as I grew and scaled, keeping the same people on, it was really important. Yeah, and you say, like, it's not just me scaling, it's the entire team. Like I always say, I'm just the cheerleader on the side, just giving it the nice one, but it's, that's kind of where I started. And
well, a lot of people really love the recurring model of something like this, similar to also pest control. Some people like the really high average tickets. This is in between. I know you do offer repair services too, but in terms of what differentiate you and how you get franchisees comfortable with, it's a crowded space, right? There's not a lot of professionalism, a lot of mom and pops, but how do you scale, and how do you really get it to be a big business with that competition?
Yeah, as far as so I think it first starts with the type of person that meshes well with Puddle, right? Mm-hmm. Finding that owner operator versus exec model, just that different mindset, right? Nothing wrong with either, they're just totally different.
Right.
So I think it all comes from right from the start, from our friend dev team with consultants and just even, organic, making sure they're right fit and really being disciplined on our end. And again, learning that through trial and error is being disciplined for the right person for Puddle, right? Because the right person for Puddle may not be the right person for a window cleaning or that. So again, for our system, that's what allows them to really grow and scale. So they don't have that fear. That one part of the fear factor is ability to scale, and I think that's number one. It starts from the ground up as to finding that person that fits and meshes well with our system, and then sticking to your guns,
right?
Knowing when to say no and, hey, this might not be a good fit for you, kind of thing, without making them too sad or because of course you want to, and you do lots of calls where it's like, man, I love this guy or this gal. They're awesome, right? But you know what? I don't think they would fly well in this system.
So when you say fits well and in that executive role, what kind of skill sets typically are going to be, you think, the ideal franchisee?
Yeah, ideal franchisee. They have to be obviously big picture thinking outside the box, have that mindset of executive. I want to scale it, right? And I want to, not so much I want to do this by tomorrow, but they have that, not looking for the sprint, but the marathon.
Okay.
They have to be able to shake a hand. They have to be like a people person. It's very community driven as well. Like home service based. I don't care what anybody says. It's still community driven. Like myself, I know I'm going to hire a plumber that probably lives in my city and has the local area, just that kind of thing. So they can't be afraid to shake a hand. They can't be afraid to be involved in the community to some degree. And then having the ability to run a team or to want to run a team. Maybe it's just like if I was in charge of one person before. I ran a team of two. Great. The team of two is the same as a team of 2002. You have that ability, like you can be trained and molded, but that's really the first thing we look for is the scale, the drive, that community. And again, the shake a hand. And do you want to can I have a conversation with them? And then I just know myself, and I know our dev team, you just kind of know they have those things. So, and maybe it their, I'm rambling again, Laura, sorry, but it doesn't matter if it's their first business or their 100th business. They want to work for themselves and they're not afraid to make that leap, because it's hard. Well, it's hard, right? For
sure
to do that. Yeah.
For sure. Are people coming in with teams already, or I guess maybe just how do you help, or do you help them find the technicians? I don't know what kind of training someone needs. I have a pool and I used to do it, but I don't even remember how I did anything. I couldn't go touch anything now.
Do you want to jump?
Yeah. No, I need that pool tech.
Yeah, it's so everything from, they don't need to come with there's no teams. That's all part of training. So we run a really tight, it's like a 6 to 8 week onboarding process.
Okay.
Part of, we have our pre, our post, our virtual, our pre, then virtual, then our live training, then post training, then hiring, then market. So it just is very systematic, and it works because this is not our team's first rodeo. They've been doing it forever. So it's one of those sections is the hiring and recruiting and retaining. How do we hire somebody, right? How do we recruit them? And then most importantly is how do we retain them? Like I can hire somebody tomorrow. If I can't retain them or incentivize them, what's the point? So we teach them everything from that, even from if they wanted to post an ad on Indeed, there's preset modules. They just go in, hit hire technician, boom, and it automatically posts an ad for them, or it will show them the sample, tells them how to do an interview. They learn all this in training, but how would I run an interview? Here's the questions asked. Here's their body language. Here's what you want to look for. All of those little things. So, people that have hired before, great, they'll use it, and they might not use it. And somebody who's never hired before, it can be daunting and scary they're probably more nervous than the person that they're interviewing, right? So it can, we want to prepare them. And all through that, they have weekly coaching calls with their Puddle coach. And as they get up to the hiring stage, one of those calls is going to be just primarily, let's get a refresher on hiring and who are you looking at, who are the candidates you have. Do we hire somebody with experience or without experience, right? So there's pros and cons to all of those, but we do half a day in live training just on that. So I wish I could dive into more, but
do most people start with someone at least that has some experience, or what is there kind of a mixed bag?
Half and half. Yeah, mixed bag. So we always like to, without giving too much away, I hope no competitors are watching this, but as far, you know who you are.
Yeah.
Eat it, beat it. Yeah, no, I think that there's pros and cons of both. So if you have somebody from in the industry that's already in it, it's kind of hard to, old dog, new tricks, or however you want to phrase that.
Oh, it's fair point. Yeah.
Plus you, somebody that's a little more blue collar and does a skilled trade. I know myself, I've been in the field. I know it. It's hard for them. Like our techs, 50% of what they learn is the pool care. The other 50% is the growth and the scaling, incentive bonuses, bring on new clients. So the marketing portion, it's hard to get somebody that's already doing something so long to switch over to that, right? So where we pull from the the home service space or the customer service space, like your grocery stores, your coffee shops, I don't know if I'm allowed to name coffee shop, but those type of that are used to interacting with customers and doing not add-on sales, but value add and bring on new clients. They're a little more comfortable in that space, and they're used to incentives and tips. So okay,
gotcha. Yeah. So I guess starting off, if someone's starting off with a couple territories, do they start off with one van, one technician per van? How does that, or do you have part-time backup?
Yes. So it's always one tech, one truck. Even if you have 2, 3, 4, we have some that have 4 territories that they're starting with. They always start with one tech, one truck, because it keeps the overhead minimal, and it's easier to add techs and trucks than it is to take away, right?
Sure.
Rather than have a vehicle payment.
When do you have to start? Like, how many pools do you get to? Do you have to start adding that second truck?
Usually it varies. It all depends. Usually the dollar range, like 8 to 10K per month, then you're going to bring on your next van, right?
Okay.
That can vary. Maybe it's a customer count. Maybe it's 60 to 80 clients fills a van. So it's different for every territory. But our teams break that right down, and it goes down into a weekly, we have like almost a business plan or a weekly coaching program that if they want to do X amount per year, they can do that. It just breaks down how many we need to get each week and so on. So really, really formulated.
Really wonderful. And I wanted to get into a bit about your technology. I don't know if it makes sense to jump into that, or a little bit of understanding of what's the process of getting a client and what marketing works and how you bring them in. And Does networking work as well? When do you go into commercial versus residential?
Yeah, that's all great points. So all of that is yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
So there's the residential world versus commercial world.
Mm-hmm.
And so our strong suit, I guess, our real differentiator is versus our national competition. We focus heavily on residential and commercial. It's a pool's a pool's a pool. It's cleaned the same way, but it's just the process is a little different. Some of the equipment's a little larger. The process is different. You're dealing with property managers. The flow is different,
Right.
right? But the service is the same. But it's just so that whole world. There's different certifications you need to get for commercial. And when I
Okay.
say commercial, that's like apartments, townhomes, multi-units, hotels, that kind of thing.
Right.
And then we have two different marketing programs for both, right? So like take it keywords in residential, they would call it a fountain, right? A fountain.
Mm-hmm.
But in commercial, they would call it a water feature. They're the same thing, but it's just those two different keywords pulled from two different programs. And talking a property manager language or commercial language, they would say water features.
Right.
There's that. Yeah, your relationships, like cookie drops, BNIs, all of these are all in that relationship world. We break it into
Mm-hmm.
three. I know I'm telling you a lot here. I hope I'm not saying too much, but we break it
No,
into
no.
three. We call it, in the neighborhood, and then we call it digital, and we call it relationship. So in the neighborhood is pretty much the technicians. They're in
Okay.
charge of door knockers, lawn signs, meet and greets, go-to. So this is where they're interacting with the community. Then we have your digital, which would be more the back end, the PPC, SEO, which we handle all in-house. We have a full marketing staff is 24/7 Puddle. But then on top of that, you also have like your aggregator sites like Yelp, House, Thumbtack, all of these, more of that digital, Instagram, TikTok, or maybe not TikTok, but Instagram, Facebook, all of those platforms, which is a different element. And then the last one we have is relationships, and this is where we say, who do we look for? This is a world for this is their world. This is the franchise partner. This is not for the techs, not for this is a high level, right? That's building those relationships with property managers, with realtors, with Airbnbs, all of these contractors, pool builders that we partner with prior to launch. And that's
Right.
where they have to have that ability to reach out, and because we can't make that relationship for them. That's ongoing, right? So there is the market. We have 26 points of marketing. We call it the wheel of fortune or a wheel with spokes. If they're not doing all of these spokes, or if you're only riding a bike with two spokes, your wheel's going to get wobbly. So
Oh, okay. Yeah. Excellent.
yeah, it's really, really deep. The marketing is very, very, it's easy to use, but it dives deep, if that even
Okay.
makes sense.
So lead comes in, let's say from digital. How
Yep.
does that get funneled to, or does it go directly to the franchisee, or how's that work?
Yeah, it's a great point. So all of the marketing that we do, SEO, PPC, digital, print, everything goes into the world, and everything flows through our call center. So we have
Okay.
their local number, and we have also a toll-free number. That's not rocket science. They all flow into the call center. They will either take all the info, put them into our system, and then they would say, hey, Laura, Mr. Smith wants his pool
Okay.
cleaned. It's already in the system, so they can just pull it up. It dings them as well. They call it, and then it goes from there.
And is it typically a phone call with,
Yeah.
here's what I need, here's what your price would be, or how's that work?
It all depends if they sent in an e-form or if they sent in maybe by phone call, if they did a phone call. However it comes in, all that flow comes in and is logged internally and then given to the franchise partner. And then our franchise partner would either reply back they might say, hey, how much is a pool opening per se? Our staff would coach them on, not the client, they would more let the client know. Yes, but because there's a lot of elements, it's hard to book online in this industry. There's a lot. Oh, I also have a fountain. This is so they'll
That's
let
what I
the
wondered.
franchise partner, through trial and error, they let the franchise partner call it and close or call it and onboard them, and then they can do it. They can take them. They send them an agreement. They put them in the system. All of that all goes systematic, all from their phone. So they can take from that lead that came in, onboarding them, agreement in hand, credit card info, onboarded, working the system onto the schedule within 4 minutes. So that's the wow moment. So when people say, oh, I can run it from my phone anywhere, you truly can. So
Wow.
yeah, that's the kicker.
What makes someone choose Puddle Services? Like you're coming in, you're going to have to displace usually. I mean, there's new pool builds, but you're displacing somebody. I mean, I know we all have our challenges at times so I see how a need can arise, but yeah,
Yes.
how do you guys capture those?
Yeah. As far as acquisition and turnover and how do we, so value add, it's just it's a very messy space. It's just not clean. I don't want to be mean or anything, but you know what I mean? It's just, it's not a very clean space. It's very sloppy, just the way that, so when you have like when Puddle comes in, you have a system where the techs come in, they're dressed head to toe, the vehicles are fully wrapped, and the techs are using iPads. The value add they get for the same price, if not less, the competitors cannot compete. And the price point we get for chemicals and supplies is at such our buying power, and we just pass that on to our clients, is the
Right.
value add is, we just service the heck out of them. That's what it is. And we just really and then even like there's no communication in this industry. Most people go, like you said, I don't know when they came. Like, do you remember the name of your pool company that you had?
It's just a guy. I used to have a company, but yeah,
Right. Just a guy, right? And
I don't
so,
know.
yeah, there's lots, and a lot of people don't know, or I don't remember their name, or I don't know when they come. I think there's just no communication. So it lets them
Yeah.
know. And this isn't rocket science. Like, lets them know when they're on their way, when they've arrived, before and after pictures, tells the story, shows them locking the gate, all these little things. And
Oh,
it's all
wow.
through email or text, or if they want to text them, they can have this thread. So they have that constant communication, right? Then they have the best price point that they can't get that value add. And the people, like the industry, sometimes the people aren't the
Right.
best kept, or you know what I mean? So
Right. Right.
it's just a different service. So that's kind of that wow moment. When you get on one street that has 2, 3, 4, 10, 15 pools, it's not long before
You're getting the whole.
you get the
Yep.
whole, because it's just organically, it just does that, right? So it's just kind of designed that way. So that's kind of different. There's lots of different ways to acquire, but that's kind of the main one. That's a great question, because it comes up all the time, is how am I going to get new clients that aren't looking, right? That already have a
Right.
pool. How do I flip them, right? Even when the tech lands in that territory, with our system, it zones in and we can pull up a map of everybody on that street that has a pool.
Okay.
And then we also have another system that cross-references, that allows us to get the name, phone number, email, address. Do they have a pool? Do they have a hot tub? So we can really personalize that all through AI.
Wow.
Scary. Yeah, crazy. Yeah. But it allows that personal touch. So the tech goes in. And then why would they do that? Why would a technician go and try and get more work? It's through the incentive bonuses. For every new pool you get, it's X. And so it all comes together where you have that
Okay.
technician that comes from that customer service field.
Right.
That's their go-to, right? So they're used to that. So that's kind of the system, if that
Oh,
makes sense.
fantastic. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And so
Yeah.
they can, what can an average tech grow into salary wise, or compensation wise, I should say?
Yeah, there is no, that we show them there is no roof. We have some that made, like last year, we're like 68K for a technician just starting out, right?
Fantastic.
And maybe that's $20 an hour. It's 40, what's that, 42 a year or whatever, or 40 a year, and then 20K in bonuses or incentives. It's like and that all goes down to that first question, is the hiring. You're not going to, you usually don't get that with somebody coming from the industry already, because they may be able to perform
Right.
more jobs, but they, in the big picture, but I say it's not always the best. It's 6 of one or half a dozen the other. But our two highest performing technicians are female from QSR, and they kill it. And they're like, but we have some who go and they're just a little too nice, and they go, oh, they're going to have, where's so-and-so? He had coffee. They said, do you want a cup of coffee or tea? And they'll sit there for half an hour having a coffee and a cup of tea. Like that, they'll never want to leave that technician. It's like at the same time, like, okay, you gotta go. We got lots of jobs to do, but sometimes they can't be too nice, but
Right.
but that happens. We've had a couple. I remember one guy, I don't want to say his name, it started with a K, and he was awesome, but he would get, if they're doing an average of 10, 15, say 15 jobs a day, he maybe got like 8. Then after 3 days, he worked for head office, right? He had part of the corporate route. And I'm like, hey, look, what's shaking here? He's like, oh, I had coffee with so-and-so. Then we had lunch at over at and I'm like, wow, this guy's great. So we had to bring him into head office as part of training, because he just didn't, he wasn't good he's good in the field, but he was just like too good. So we brought him in as for like customer relations. He's just awesome. But you got to kind of find that, and like it happens to us, you got to find that happy medium. There's no perfect person. So,
Gotcha.
I remember that guy. He was great.
In terms of seasonality, I'm sure everybody asks this. I realize that but how do you make someone comfortable with that? Because I know you do a lot of services in the commercial, but what's that look like for the winter months?
So it's really a strong suit for us in the US to say that it was born in Canada, and there's 20 plus locations here, because and one of our highest locations is up north, and like some months they do 120K, and that's because of that commercial world. Yeah, when they have 6 feet of snow, so it kind of really helps us in that. And then through validation, we want you to talk to every franchise partner, right? We don't just give them, hey, talk to these 3 superstars and pepper them with goodies. We'd say, well, you can't talk to us any further until you talk to a high, a mid, and a low performer, right? And of course, we're not going to introduce him and say, hey, this is Bob. He's a really low performer, right? We'll just say, here's a list of ones, pick them and see who you resonate with. And really, if you say, I really resonate well with a low performer and everything I do, I want to do like him, this isn't for you, right?
Right.
But people try it different ways. It's not necessarily they're a low performer. They're just at that point in time, they may be in the truck or they want to start as an owner operator, which they will organically grow out of. But some people just learn like that. They got to get their hands dirty. They want to be in it for a season to really learn. And then season 2 or year 2, whatever it is, then they scale. They go from 1 truck to 3 to 4 to 5, right? So then they're top performers. So it's all that groundwork. But sorry.
The one in Canada that's doing that kind of business during the winter. So is their summer full out? I mean, are they having to double up if they're doing that?
Controlled
Or are they
chaos.
constantly doing that?
Controlled chaos in the summer.
Yeah.
You look at your peaks and your valleys just with anything, right? So,
right.
But we want that consistent growth. So we always go after the gravy, the highs, that stuff's openings, closing, liners, pool installs. That's great. But that consistent reoccurring revenue for that customer that's paying X amount per month over and over. It's an essential service. It's reoccurring weekly. That's what we want. Everything kind of goes on top of that. But we can base all of our growth off of that. And if whenever you get more coming in, then great. But we want to be able to really perform on that. So as far as what does that look like in the winter months, or if somewhere that experiences all 4 seasons, right? The commercial world eliminates that because they're year round. If you have a hotel, I have 5 kids. I remember when they were young, when we go to a hotel, what's the first thing you do? You're going to the pool, right? You have to go to the pool, and that's it. So it's not an option of having that closed. Or an apartment or a multi-unit that has an indoor pool. They pay for that amenity. So it has to be serviced daily. Some zips, it's twice a day. And that doesn't change. It doesn't matter if it's December or if it's July. It's still the same. So, but that eliminates that seasonality for us. So it really, when they validate and talk to the franchise partners, that's what really puts their mind at ease. It's like, I can tell you everything till I'm blue in the face. I say, talk to the franchise partners, right? Or a friend, not myself anymore, but the friend team will say, here, talk to everybody. We run
how many do you have now in the States?
So total we started year 1 was 2023. We ended the year with 13, and that was just Canada. Last year we came into the US in Q2 and we ended the year with 38 total.
Wow.
And now we are at 58.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's great growth, but it's really controlled growth. It's not, this isn't some circus show where, hey, we got to, you know what I mean? I'm not saying people are like it, but it's really, really, I shouldn't have said that, but you know what I mean? It's really controlled growth.
No, I understand. Yeah, absolutely. No, reasonable. In terms of kind of a day in the life of a franchisee, maybe first year versus second year, what's that typically look like?
Yeah, first year to second year, it's always, I think first year is, just like anything. I think like first 90 days are kind of like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And then so the support's really important. It's like these weekly support. There's 2 monthly roundtables, there's quarterly meetings. And so there's always support, right? What does year 1 look like? It should look the same as year 2, right? Year 1, they play more of that admin role, not putting their hands in the pool, but more of like closing, building relationships. But year 2 is going to look the same, just with more techs. It's the same role. Like they can remove themselves a little bit, either with admin, they might hire, we use virtual assistants as well for our admin, or they maybe use somebody else local or whatever that may be, but they're always involved because they're the relationship, right? That's kind of the glue that holds it all together. So year 1 to year 2, they're just going to get bigger and better. Legally, I can say that. They should get bigger and better. I'm just learning all the rules of what you can and can't say, right? So it's just, they should be getting bigger and better and more techs. You grow organically. It's just like that wheel, like the snowball effect. The longer you're in it, the bigger you are. So.
Right. And your first one, was it here in Florida, in the United States, or where was your first location?
Yeah, it was in the Villages, Florida. Correct.
So great area to start. Yeah.
Yeah, great area. I think everybody and their mother has a pool. So it's great, right?
Right.
And, their team is scaling like this. That was year 1. They're in month 16 or 17-ish, right? They're in like a year and a half now, and they have 8 trucks.
And they have 8 trucks.
Yeah. And their size of their territory is actually a little bit smaller. Like each territory is based on 10,000 pools.
Okay.
And their territory has about 7,500, I think. So that will give you the idea of how year 1, they had 1, maybe they ended with 2. Don't quote me, I would say 2, right? But then the next year, as soon as that opens, that's that effect. Right? And by next year, hopefully they would have 15 trucks, so it just scales. And so most people, how do you get that many? And like, so you don't need to have, this isn't a like, hey, to get $1 million business, I want to have, I want to have 2 territories. Like year one, they closed out with 700K top line, right? 700K from an $100,000 investment, so our biggest job, number one, is when can we get them cash flow positive? When can we get them their money back?
Right.
Our team knows that over 13 plus years, that's the number one as a franchise partner. When am I cash flow positive? When am I getting my money back? We only do good if they do good. So it's in our best interest to make sure they are absolutely killing it. So we want to get them cash flow positive. We want to get them their return, right? So, but like take it, that's year one. And now year two, like month one, they did just a little over 200K. Right? And I can say this because it's in the FDD. So, but when you open that world of commercial, forget it. Like court. Am I rambling, Laura? I have a tendency.
No, you're not rambling. This is very interesting.
Well, sometimes and so you just say, Mark, John, I have a tendency
No.
Okay, cool. But like, I'll take our gentleman who another one of our locations just started in Florida, just launched on the 1st. So he is 3 weeks in. So he already has a commercial account worth 3,200. He just landed another one this morning worth 8 and change. So 800. So right off the top, he's got $4,000 worth of commercial. So he'll probably put on another truck, and I would imagine 3 or 4 months. Right. So it's
wow.
Yeah. So it's that. But I'll shut up now.
Wow. Anyway. No. So you've got the residential work, you've got the commercial work, and then you bring in the repair work, which I would imagine takes some skill sets for sure.
Yeah, well, we always make sure absolutely. Yeah, you want to make sure it comes 2 ways. So one is and I have to give props and kudos to our suppliers and our vendors, is it's not just, hey, we got the best deal, we got the best price, like we get it the fastest, like, okay, whatever. It's the education that they provide to Puddle alone. So they'll run nation camps for our teams. How do you change a pump properly? How do you, whatever it is, they'll run camps where not necessarily we have to go to them. They'll come to us and we'll run when you have like 60 territory, whatever, you kind of have a little more, a little more pull for them, it's just, and that's our biggest thing is when we're partnering with is make sure, do you run education? How's that going to benefit our people? Because from there they can train out, right? So, but you're right. As soon as you open that door to our secondary services, or, we call them child, like we have our parent, we call the reoccurring, and then the childs, which are the additional, is like your vinyl liners, safety covers, equipment and repair, chemical sales, fiberglass pool installs, and leak detection. So everything in, on, or around the pool we'll handle. So, but it takes time to get there. And sometimes that's hard to kind of let everybody like, hey, it's coming. And you get these shiny things, like organically, we just get calls all the time for those. And if they're just starting, it's attractive, right? So, but yeah, when you bring in those secondary services, those large ticket items, like a pool is, 70 to 80K average for a fiberglass pool. And we do it all in-house. Our head office PIP program, the pool install program, the Puddle team comes out and takes that franchise partner and from start to finish, here's how you measure it. Here's how this works. Here's how we order. Here's how you collect payment from the client. So all of this is all value add for the client. But you're right. Once you put those on, you need to be ready for it. Like day one coming out of training, you're not installing pools. You would implode. You'd pull all your hair. It'd be insane. Wouldn't even do that. So, but yeah, once you go to those, this is like basic, like crawl, walk, run, sprint. Yeah. So.
Right. How many years do you normally recommend somebody being in business before they start that? Or is it just based on what they're handling?
Just we have a lot come out the gate. Right now, they start with leak detection. They add leak detection as they initially, right? You can add everything if you want. You just need a bigger team. Gotcha. We always want you to try and start as you scale, like next truck, right? Maybe we have some that Simon, like I always use Simon as an example because he has 2 territories. He's just opening his 3rd territory. He's in it for a full year and a month, right? So he's scaling great. He also has a primary job. He also owns an epoxy flooring company, a lighting company, and he has 5 kids. Simon, if you're watching this, props to you, right? He is a machine. His wife, Mary's a machine, and Simon's a machine too, but it's mostly Mary. But it's like having that mindset is like, he's like 3 months in or 4 months in, and he did a pool install. And then he did another one after that. Now he's doing hot tub sales. And so you can scale, you can scale as big as you want, as quick as you want, or you can go nice and easy. So it just depends on the type of person.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm getting all hopped up, Laura.
I don't know a person that owns a pool that doesn't need that leak detection. Every single person.
Yeah, it's.
No one tells you when you install a pool how much upkeep there is to it.
Yeah, it's like, I think it's more expensive than a boat. I don't have a
Yeah.
boat. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the kind of friend to have, right? The person with a boat and the person with a
Right.
pool. That's
Yeah.
it. You
Yeah.
just bring the drinks.
Yeah. No, it is pretty awesome though.
Yeah.
I can't imagine being in Florida without one, but
Yeah.
yeah. So, gosh, it just seems, there's so many opportunities with this brand, with
Yeah.
your support. Love to hear that you've got all the suppliers and your pricing can beat anybody else. Anything else that's really important that you think people should think
It's
about?
it's just the team, all the friend. It's just everybody. It's just the system's great, and it's again, it's not just me. It's just like our leadership team filled with like Steph, her brand manager, Mike is VP of Ops and coaching, and Corey and Jeff. Like, there's just so many people involved that care so much about the franchise partner. And I think the biggest thing too, like, is nobody is from the leadership team. And I'll tell you this, and I don't care if I'm supposed to or not, but like all of our leadership, it's not like salary plus paid on performance. I see that a lot in this industry. Is like, as the coaches, if the franchise partner gets to 150K this year, you get a bonus of X amount. That just, I don't like that. And we've never
Hmm.
run it like that. The biggest, like, so there are no bonuses. There's no X amount. It's everything that they do is like, after they have their coaching call, is what they're based on is Bob happy? What does Bob need help with? What is Bob, his wins, his challenges, right? And what's his goals for the next
Right.
week? And then if they come back, go, I don't know, he needed help in X, but yeah, I didn't really get it. That's a problem, right? So whenever we can pull in all, talking to Bob, he really needs a little bit more support with Facebook. Okay, let's bring in, Michaela, let's bring in Madison, whoever it may be, and let's help him with that for the next coaching call. So I think that's probably another bonus is the leadership team is just built differently. And we all
Yeah.
know
Sounds like it.
each
Yeah.
other. There's no hierarchy. There's nobody has a higher role than me. I'm equal. I'm equal as everybody. Everybody's the same. There's nobody that's better than anybody here or have more pull. There's a lot of things that I'm not allowed to go to. There's a lot of coaching calls. They're just like, Mark, you're going to mess it up if you come. You and Tyler can't
Gotcha.
come, So, but it's fun like that. So it's
Yeah.
really, they're just, I don't know, just real people, I guess.
That's
So
fantastic.
yeah.
No, it sounds, I've been watching your brand for a little while. So, and I always like to try to pinpoint the ones that I think that are really going to be there for the long haul
Thank you.
and doing it all the right reasons, right? Focusing on the
Thank you.
franchisee
Yeah. We're not
success.
going
Yeah.
anywhere. Yes. We're
Yeah.
stuck
No,
here.
no.
Yeah. You're
I,
stuck with us.
I know I'm sure you're going to be very successful. Hopefully I can
Thank you.
pull together some great clients for you or
Thank you.
candidates.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Love it.
anything else that you'd like to go through?
I don't know. I think the biggest thing is like, if you think it's for you, your consultant thinks it's for you, just do some research and also check out other brands, right? Like,
Right.
it's not just, I think the biggest pull here is if you like the home service space, it's great because it gives you lots of freedom. We both know that.
Right.
I started in this home service because I have 5 kids. I have 5 girls. They're all 1 year apart. It was really chaotic there for a bit, but like home
Yeah.
service allows you to be there for them. You're not like, I think it's not like brick and mortar. Nothing wrong with that. It's just a different gig.
Yeah.
It's,
No.
you have more flexibility. Do you like that? And then, yes, being able to run it from your phone anywhere in the world. Yes, that's real, right? You could talk to all the franchise partners. There's no BS there. If there's a tech in place, you don't have to be there to do, that kind of thing. But I think the reoccurring revenue model in the home service space is attractive more so than a one and done. Again, a little different, right? But you don't have to chase that next goal and or that next client. And although the ticket may be a little lower, but you have that, you can really base that reoccurring off of it, right? And it's deemed essential. It's water care. If you don't show up next week,
You're right.
yeah, like your pool
Yeah.
will go green if we don't show up next week. And
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
feel too bad. That's how it is, right? So
Yes.
it's attractive that way and all the added. So that's all. I don't really have anything else to add. It's just,
No,
just
it's
check
a wonderful
in.
model.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful model and
Thank
great
you.
price point for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And there's, a lot of strong with the digital marketing, but there's some huge opportunities for them to expand, especially into the commercial, right? By doing a little more legwork on. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well,
That's
thank
awesome.
you. I appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Enjoyed it. Do it again later, maybe in a year or two from now.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. That's a wrap for this episode of Franchise Focus. I hope you found today's conversation insightful and inspiring. If you're thinking about franchise ownership or want to learn more about the brands we discuss, connect with me on LinkedIn or visit my website at blackmorefranchiseconsulting.com or just leave a comment. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, like, comment, and share it with someone. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time on Franchise Focus.